Okay, I've got a prediction for you. And I know it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but trust me, it is a lot closer than you might think. Get ready for this. By 2035, you might be able to buy a humanoid robot for less than the price of a new car. Yeah, just let that sink in for a second.
And let's be super clear here. I'm not talking about some clunky prototype locked away in a lab somewhere. And this is definitely not a toy.
What we're talking about is a real working machine, one that can actually perform complex tasks out in the real world. And here's the kicker. Most of us, we are just not ready for what that actually means for our world. So you're probably asking, how on earth is that even possible? Well, it all comes down to a pattern that technology almost always follows. Let's dig into what's called the cost curve. Okay, so right now, today, a really advanced humanoid robot, it's gonna set you back anywhere from, say, 50 grand to 150 grand. Sounds crazy expensive, right? Like something only a huge company could afford. Well, think about something we've all seen happen right before our eyes: electric cars. Just 15 years ago, they were basically these weird, expensive experiments for the rich. And now, they're everywhere, being mass produced. It's the perfect example of this exact pattern. You see, almost every big technology follows this same journey. It starts off super expensive. Then, people figure out how to make it better. It gets optimized. After that, they start making tons of them. It scales up. And finally, it just becomes inevitable. A part of life. And here's the big takeaway from all this. Robotics isn't in that expensive baby steps phase anymore. No way. We are entering the scaling phase right now, the part where things really start to explode. Okay, so what's the engine behind this? What's pushing us into that scaling phase so fast? Well, it turns out there are three huge forces all hitting at the same time, basically conspiring to make these prices just collapse. All right, force number one, the AI software, the robot's brain, it's getting standardized. Think less custom coding, more universal operating system. Force number two, the hardware. The motors, the batteries, all those crucial parts, they're already being mass-produced by the millions for electric cars. Robotics is basically hopping on the back of that enormous industry. And third, and this is a big one, crazy, accelerating global competition. And I'm not talking about a few startups in a garage. We're talking about governments and corporate giants. China, the United States, Europe, they are pouring billions of dollars into this. It's a full-on race to dominate this technology. And that brings us to a simple, ironclad rule of economics. When competition heats up like this, profit margins get squeezed. And when margins shrink, the price has nowhere to go but down. So what happens when a robot actually costs less than a car? This isn't just about a cool new gadget. This is about a fundamental, tectonic shift in our entire economy. It's the moment a technology stops being a luxury and becomes, well, infrastructure. It becomes part of the essential foundation of the economy, just like the internet or the power grid is today. So what does that actually look like on the ground? Well, factories start adopting them in droves. Warehouses start replacing entire human shifts. And yeah, even in our own homes, we start to think differently about chores and labor when you can afford a tireless helper. Now, this is a super important point, so let's be clear. The labor market isn't just going to disappear. That's not how this works. History tells us it's going to reorganize radically. Some jobs will vanish, and whole new ones we can't even imagine yet will be created. So, okay, if cheap robots are inevitable, and the job market is going to get a massive shakeup, what does that really mean? It all comes down to a shift in power, and that brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. Because really the question isn't, will these robots be affordable? We've already kind of covered that. The path is pretty much set. That's the easy part. No, the real question is, who is going to own them? And maybe even more important, who's going to control the systems behind them? Look back through history. Every single time a major technology comes along, it creates a huge shift in power. Every single time. And there's just no reason to think humanoid robotics will be the exception to that rule. So let's circle all the way back to the beginning. By 2035, that big cost barrier we talked about, it could be completely gone. But here's the thing to really wrap your head around. When that day finally gets here, the change won't just be starting. Oh no, the signal that it was coming will have already been sent.
the black signal.